I love small town. I was born and raised in a town of 5,000 people on the west side of the state of New Hampshire. Mine was a mill town built on the banks of two rivers, each powering its prosperity for nearly 200 years. When I grew up, it was also a farm town, with every available piece of cleared flat land put to hay, corn, sheep, or cows. And hunting and firearms was something nearly everyone did, including the townies. As a rural town, its politics wouldn't understand the modern liberal calls to limit saying what you think and arguing its merits till everyone agreed to disagree. When Lynn and I married, we moved to another town, a mountain town, a town where the tallest building is a meeting house built in 1794, its spire and bell tower calling to the entire valley. A population of 900 people when we got there and 1,100 folks today, 40 years later. In a small town, they say the good thing about it is everyone knows who you are, and the bad thing, everyone knows who you are. You choose to live here because of the community. The community doesn't live because of you. The GPS took us on to 302, away from Jess' house, where we turned east onto State Route 78, also known as the Charleston Highway. I was raised taking the back roads, rural roads. I'm not sure if this is where the real America is, but certainly the America that I recognize and am often most comfortable. I have never felt the need to take the fastest route or be in such a rush to get to the next destination just to say I did it, I saw it, and now I need to quickly move on to the next. You need to experience the light, the air, the sensations that every place has built into its history and its cultural roots. I think it took a while for Lynn to settle into this traveling eccentricity, but now, if she's bothered by it, she never shares or complains. She is my partner. We had decided that as soon as we found a place to eat lunch, that we would stop. We had the largest part of what was left of the day to get to Charleston, so we looked for a local place. You know, not a chain or something redundantly similar. We found it, or at least Lynn did. Driving through Charleston, South Carolina, Lynn spies this weathered building with this barely discernible sign that says restaurant or buffet or something that caught her attention. Finishing lunch and back on 78, we continued east to Charleston. Now apparently Williston had a strong manufacturing economy sometime in the recent past, as the first 4 or 5 miles leaving town had several large industrial buildings. Sad to notice was that nearly all of them, midday on Monday, had no activity, and in fact many of them looked shuttered. When I looked on Google Maps, the last image were for 2013, and nearly every building had their parking lots full of employee cars. When I checked some of the current employment indicators for Williston, I learned that the median income was $28,000. Unemployment was 7.7%, and the current job growth was a negative 1.18%. With 43 years of making stuff here in America behind me, it seems to be that no areas or no business is immune from this reality of industrial flight. This part of South Carolina does seem to have a resurgence of cotton production, however. There were miles of cotton plantings as we drove from Williston to Reevesville. In fact, this was the first time that either of us have seen cotton fields live, and were fascinated by how the light played off the plants as we drove by. Lynn wanted to get up close to one of the fields, so we pulled up next to one, where Lynn panned the field with the camera and took a few stills. She also picked herself a cotton ball. Hope that wasn't illegal. It's amazing how soft and condensed the fibers were. We had our next opportunity to turn around and go back in Reevesville, South Carolina, just before we ended our back roads drive, having to get back on the interstate into Charleston. Now, it's often proposed that the American Industrial Revolution may have been the truest democratization of our American social riot. Mass production is said to have brought an egalitarian ownership of nearly everything. With pre-industrial revolution production in the hands of the craft guilds and independent tradesmen, only the wealthiest could afford things that were pre- or custom-made. Now, with machines and machine processing, producers could bring the cost of goods lower, making them available to a larger social economic group. And textile production was no different. I love architecture, and I especially love industrial architecture. These old buildings help to tell the story of this second cultural transformation. We were a couple minutes past the church when I had to turn around and go back and film what is probably one of the more unique repurposing of an early industrial building that I've run into. It just grabbed me. At first, I wasn't sure if the church was shuttered, but when I got home to New Hampshire, I spent a couple of hours trying to learn as much as I could. Unfortunately, not much to find. Now, I'm making somewhat of a leap that the building was originally a cotton gin mill, as its architecture and construction is similar to other cotton mills from the period in the South. And the fact that the church is called the Cotton Gin Country Church probably doesn't hurt my supposition. The church is relatively new as an organization. Once again, I look on Google Maps. The latest picture they have is for 2008, when the building was what appears to be an auto or truck repair shop. The church removed several of the surrounding structures and additions, leaving what appears to be the original mill. I went looking for interior photographs, because I would love to see how they reuse that, and through my quest learned that the church is very active in the community. They even have a Facebook page. Getting on to I-26, we finished our drive into Charleston and onto James Island, where Irene lives, and then over to Folly Beach, where we expected to book our room for the next 3 days. That would all go wrong.